Today we have the SW Motorsport lowered seat bracket going into my GR Yaris. If you haven't heard of SW Motorsport before, if you go to any club level motorsport event in the country, chances are you'll see several SW Motorsport roll cages. They really know what they're doing when it comes to steel. Now, I'm not a particularly tall guy. I'm 5'9"-ish, but I still want to sit lower in my GR Yaris. It does sit too high for me. So we're going to get this fitted to the car, and we should be able to drop up to 80, 100, maybe even more millimeters down, which is plenty. So let's crack on. So the first step is to disconnect the battery, leave it for about 15 minutes because we're going to be taking one of the airbag connectors off the bottom of the seats. The next thing I'm going to do is mark up where my seat is now, so that when I'm putting it in, I'm not trying to guess where it's going back in. So I'll do that now. We're going to be taking this black trim off, so I'm not sure when it goes back on in the proceedings. So I'm just going to mark it here as well as on this, as well as on the black trim there. Obviously when you're dropping the seat a bit, your driving position is going to change. I might find out later on that I want to move it an inch further forward or whatever, but it should be pretty close, as long as I'd line it back up with these marks. Might be a bit overkill, but should be right. I think a lot of people say that the Yaris is absolutely fine as it is. I think it depends what you're used to, but I'm only about 5'9", and I still want the seat lower, so I think a lot of people will benefit from this sort of thing. Right, so now that that's marked up, we'll drop the seat back and we'll start disconnecting it. It's been about 12 minutes, so by the time I've unbolted everything, it'll be about time to disconnect it. There are 4 Torx 50 bolts holding down the seat to the car. So I don't know if the GoPro will pick that up, but we've got 2 connectors on the bottom of the seat. One of them is yellow, which means it's SRS, so the battery has to be off for 15 minutes, which is about now. Right, so that's the 2 connectors undone under the seat, and the seat's ready to come out. So just be careful you don't scratch your door aperture on the way out, and definitely try not to do it when you're being videoed. So with the seat on its back, we can see we've got the sliders here, and we've got some nuts that attach the main sort of seat raising and lowering mechanism to it. So we'll strip that off. We're going to have to take this bit of plastic off, so these levers here are in the way. This one we might be able to get away with because we can take this little access window out. So first thing we do is a little lever hole there. Pop a little trim tool or a little screwdriver, just be careful not to scratch anything, and it just pops out. And with that out, this sort of locks it in place, so it just pulls off. It's got a little key on there, so you can't fit it wrong. It'll always go back in the same place. This window here, we can get to it from the back. Can't really show you on camera, but you can get to, it comes out this side first. This side is sort of hooked in, So it just pulls out like that. To give myself some better access, just use this lever to pump the seat up all the way. We're just lowering the rail away, letting us get as much access as we can to all the little clips behind here. You really don't want to break this sort of thing because it's the first thing you see when you open the car, so just take care and take your time with it. There's loads of little clips behind here. You can't really see them on camera, to be fair, but you'll sort of, if you have a little gentle pull here and there, you'll sort of see where it's snagging. There's a big one just here, there's another one down here, and it looks like it wants to sort of slide off towards the front. So we're going to take it steady and hopefully not break anything. I've been popping out clips here. It looks like I can't get any further without removing this lever here to adjust the seat height. I'll show you in a second the clip you need to get to, but you do get it from behind, which is why this little window can pop out. So I've kind of mullered it a little bit here, but this little clip here, you just push it out and this will slide straight off. It just locates in this little bit here. Okay. And there we are. So the two main clips that I was trying to point out earlier that you probably couldn't see anyway was this one here, and then we've got 4 other clips that locate around here. They're quite easy to get to. It's just a little cover here, just to cover that back hinge there. It looks like it's wrapped around the swivel there pretty nicely, so I'm just going to leave it. But now we can see fixings that attach the seat base here to the runners, and that's the bit that we're going to be replacing with the low seat bracket. So that's all the height we're going to be losing. And these are on both sides. Just go steady with them. They just need a little push. You don't need to be ragging them. You don't need to jab any screwdrivers in there. You can just slip it out. No massive amount of force needed. So these are 4 12mm nuts per side. Right, and with those 4 nuts removed, should just be able to pull the standard slider out and away. So that's the bit we're going to be replacing. So one of the limiting factors to how low we're going to be able to go is this bracket here, and this bracket holds on the connectors for the airbag in the seat and also the seatbelt sensor. So we're going to have to take it off because I'd like to run it low. Basically, with these new this new bracket, we're going to be able to use this existing seat adjusters to run lower than we would be able to, you know, with the standard sliders on. So taking this off is going to help us a lot with that. If you don't want to run that much lower, I think this is probably going to take off, I don't know, 50, 60 mil, maybe a touch more, then you can just leave it on. But I would probably look at relocating this connector, or maybe this connector as well here, because these are going to be running, you know, when you start lowering your seat down to where you're happy with it, you might find you're starting to sort of crush those, because this doesn't give at all. As soon as you lower these down, that's the lowest point. So to get this off properly, you can just snap it off if you're never going to use the standard ones again. But there are some trims, those clips here. There's some screws the other side of this metal part of the seat here, and to get to them we're going to have to unclip all of these. I've already started down the sides here, peel it back, undo the screws, clip it all back on. It's going to look a little bit extreme. It's not really that big of a deal. It's just a bit fiddly and takes a bit of time. So that's it. I mean, like I said, I did cheat a little bit and do a bit of this beforehand, but all we've got is these little clips here, and these just go onto here. So a trim tool or a screwdriver, get those down, lift them away, and then you've got this wire that runs at the front of the seat here. This hooks onto here. So do those, do a couple on either side. You'll be able to pull your seat base away from the metal frame and get to these screws. And one little clip as well. So that's it. So that's how you remove it properly. Bit of a faff, but worth keeping it intact so that if you ever want to go back, or if you're going to sell a car or whatever, you can put it back on properly and know that you're not going to have any rattles or anything like that. So we're just going to have to find somewhere nice to put these where they're going to be safe, out of the way, not going to fret, not going to chafe through. But as we're not going to be sliding the seat forwards and backwards, once it's in, it's set. So it's not like we're going to be sliding these up and down here, etc. So now that it's off, I'll put my seat back together, and then we're going to mount the bracket to the seat first of all, before we put it in the car, just so that we can line these marks up. The tape's already coming off. So now you can see, if we look from the side, the height that we can get to is now really, really low. The next limiting thing there's going to be is this here. We might, if we want to go really low, we might look at dremeling that out just to clear the bulge in the chassis where the seat mount is, but we're going to have to be pretty low before we worry about that. Since we don't have any sliders anymore, these clip into those standard sliders, so we're just going to take these off. They just fit like that, sort of clip most of the way around that little spindle there. And there's one of those on each side. Now I've got all the trims off we don't need, everything's free, all the seats back together. The next part is to bolt on the actual SW Motorsport bracket. I've got a setting from Sean at SW Motorsport. Luckily we're about the same height, so I'm going to copy that for now. Hopefully our marks will line back up again in the car. If not, it's you know, a bit of a fiddle, but it's something you only need to get right once and then it's done. So we'll you know, if we need to take it out, it's not a massive issue. So we've got it very loosely bolted to the seat now. To make it easy on myself, I've got it raised up to the highest point. So I've just pumped this up so the rails are as high as they'll go. So with this in place, you can see what I was talking about earlier with the white plastic bracket. That's going to be hitting this area here, which is important for strength. So I think it's worth getting rid of it, but it depends how low you want to go. Right, so now with the bracket attached loosely to the seat, I've had a little play with it and lowered it down as much as it'll go, and found that this plastic bit here is going to start touching here, and it also has clips that hold the airbag wire on. So I'm just going to disconnect those clips and make sure that basically I can route them over here under this, which is like a little void. So I can make sure that we're definitely not going to trap any wires or chafe them or anything bad. So there's one just here, and there's one just hiding there. I'll just disconnect those, and then we're good to put it into the car. I don't know if I'll actually want to run low enough to make use of that, but I'd rather have it out of the way just so I know that I'm not going to be sitting on an airbag wire basically. Now I know that nothing I do here is going to put this sensor in harm's way. So we're going to put it in the car now, and then the last thing we're going to do after we've tightened it all down is put this side piece back on. So I'm going to keep this off just so that I can get to this bolt here and then tighten all these bolts to the correct torque. Ooh. Right, that is the seat now sat in, ready to be bolted down. So I'll loosely place the bolts in, and then we'll see how close to our marks we've got. Like I say, if we're not exactly in line, I'm not going to be too concerned until I have a sit in it, because with the seat moving up and down, I'm naturally going to have it closer or further away. I'm not sure yet. We'll have a try wherever it sits and go from there. So we're not quite tightened down all the way, but we're enough to have a sit in. It's not going to move around, and see how she goes. So it's still at max extension now, and to be fair, that feels about where it was when I drove here on the lowest setting with the standard sliders in place. So we'll drop it down. So yeah, so with my little legs, I'm definitely gonna have to come forward a little bit because I can't get my hands all the way over the wheel there. So we'll take it out and move it forward. Won't bother filming all that again because it's everything that we've already done. And then we'll be back in this position again. That is so much better though, even though I'm too far away. It is so much better. Right, that is the seat bolted to the bracket. The bracket is bolted down to the car. Everything's tight. Axis is a little bit tighter, as you probably imagine, because we can't slide the seat forward and backwards to get to the right bolts, but it's not too bad. So the last thing we're going to do is put this on. So it's a bit fiddly and you're not going to see much once I get in there to put it on. So it has a little fitting just here, and that goes onto this little tab, and then the rest of it is just push clips. So just push in from the side. So we just need to make sure we go around this nicely, which is the lever to go up and down. And then once this main bit's on, those levers for the reclining and the raising and lowering of the seat, they just push back on. Okay, so as we mentioned before, this is going to be the next point that we are going to struggle with when we lower the seat back down. So as we go down, we can see we're sort of getting close to this point here. I can also see that the marks on the seat are about right again now. We can still go lower if we want to. We can go a lot lower, but we're just starting to catch there. We're starting to catch there, and you can't see it, but there's another little plastic trim that's just about to touch the base, so it's just touching it now. So realistically, that's about as low as I want to run it. It's a good, I would say, 45-50 mil lower than the passenger side, but we'll put some measurements from the headrest to the ceiling there, just so you can, just so we can quantify it exactly. But that's it. So now that that's on, we can pop this little window in. This can go back on. the handle for the reclining, and then this bit that just locks it in place. There we go. So that's it. So everything still works just as it did before, but we just can't move the seat forwards and backwards. However, SW Motorsport do have a sliding option which is going to fit in pretty much the same way. Unfortunately it didn't arrive in time for us to get it fitted to this car, but there's not going to be any difference to it. The only thing is you're not going to have to spend as much time having the seat in and out, making sure you get it spot on, because once it's in, that's it. Right, now that the seat is all fitted, trims back on, everything back together, just going to go underneath, reconnect the airbag and the seat belt sensor. Once they're connected up and cable tied up somewhere nice, we'll reconnect the battery, and then that is it, installation complete.